So it's only her living in a mansion? Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fate Stay Night Remastered. I'm overdone with the Maze of Grisaia. Uh, After, Asako's demise, Yuji moved in with GB and then eventually went on a trip because he realized he couldn't keep staying with her. Anyways, so Fate Stay Night 10 years ago, that was. I think that was the end of the previous Grail War, which is expanded on in Fate Zero. So, you'll see Emiya, Kiritsugu, um, Iris Feel. Oh, this is from Rin's perspective. Her father, Tosaka Tokiomi, was also a participant in said Grail War. Thinking about the only survivors of that Grail War were Kiritsugu and Waver Velvet. I don't know if I want to, say Kotomine Kirei survived the war, because, well, no. Not to get into too much spoiler territory, but yeah, he did perish and then was resurrected by a absolute evil. Now that I think about it, I don't know if Tokiomi actually, ended up eliminating any participants. The only one who I can think of that eliminated participants was that Holy Grail Wars Archer and I guess Saber. Lancer didn't, Rider didn't, Assassin didn't. Assassin definitely didn't. Sorry, Assassin. Who else? Castor didn't eliminate any participants, although he did have a heck of a time doing whatever he wanted, because his master was, the accidental master. I don't know who his parents were, but I guess his ancestors were mages of some kind, because they had the Holy Grail summoning spell or circle. But he drew the circle, but he didn't use the actual chant. But ended up summoning Castor anyways. I mean, Great Mage, yeah, but Great Father, I don't know. I mean, maybe to Rin, yeah. To Sakura, well, you know, not so much. Okay, that might have been a bit of a spoiler. Now, you might be thinking the Holy Grail War comes up every 10 years, but it actually doesn't. Um, I think it was every 60 years. And The one Tosaka Tokyomi participated in was the fourth or the third. I think it was the fourth, right? 180 years after the system was implemented. Then, 10 years after that war ended, another one pops up. Although, I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember actually why it popped up 10 years later. Half a century earlier than expected. I don't remember it being explained in either the anime I've watched or the actual visual novel, because I played Mirror Moon's translation. Yeah, she's not a morning person. That 30 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. Are we gonna see her run to school with a piece of bread hanging from her mouth?
Reality is very disappointing.
Okay, well, she's not gonna be running to school. But the jury is still out on whether, she's holding a piece of bread in her mouth as she, travels to school. The clock tower. I believe that's the. Well, no, that's like the headquarters, the Mage Association. But I guess you could brag to other mages.
One eternity later.
If I remember correctly, the the Grandmaster of the Tosaka family is a man named Zelrich, or Zenrich. Yeah, I think the Mato family, mansion is nearby, right? Yeah. It certainly didn't suit the Mato or the Valkyrie family, because their magecraft just dried up after Zilkin's generation. Maybe it's 8:30.
A few moments later.
Okay, well, I was off by 2 hours. I guess she forgot to put her clock back an hour. I don't know. Um, I don't know if he had that kind of ability. If I remember correctly, Tokyomi's specialty was fire. I think that's archery, right? Well, they do seem pretty darn friendly. Yeah, 2 peas in a pod. Of course, Tosaka does have feelings for somebody, but there'll be more on that later. Yeah. Rin is a skilled combatant. The priest she mentioned earlier, Kotomi Nikiri, trained her in martial arts. The priest was also her father's student prior to the Grail War. He was also a participant, like I mentioned earlier, but ended up dropping out pretty quickly after his servant kicked the bucket. Okay, that I did not know about her. Yeah, if Shinji tried anything with her, she'd probably kick his ass. Yeah, the guy she's talking about is Emiya Shiro. He was adopted by Kiritsugu after the Grail War, so they're not actually related to each other. And because they're not related, Shiro is not a mage. Shiro's sort of the protagonist of this story. This is Sakura Mato, Shinji Mato's younger sister. Yep, there's Shinji. Voiced by the same guy who plays Araragi Koyomi. He's also a bit of a womanizer. Also extremely conceited. Okay, I thought he was in the same year as. Okay, I think Rin's in her third year, but Shinji's in his second year, Sakura's in her first year. Emiya, Shiro, and Shinji here are in the same class, I believe. So is Issei? Um if I remember correctly, Issei is going to be a monk after he graduates from high school. Alright, well, I think I'll end the episode here, and we'll pick up the rest of the prologue and then the next video.